So today's video is going to be slightly different. Recently, I haven't had the time to help you guys out one-on-one in the Instagram DMs like I always have done for the past year or so.
I'm getting DMs from lunch ladies, meter maids, finance assistant principals. Look at this one, it's a cougar.
But that's not without intention, right? I do kind of feel bad for it, but not at all at the same time. I've just been really focused on doing things that create higher leverage in my life and business, and I wanted to allocate more time also to enjoying myself and doing just like overall doing things outside of business, right? Developing myself as a more interesting person as opposed to just, sales, conversions, emails, e-commerce, like. So one of the things as a part of me trying to enjoy myself and do things outside of business is I've been trying to get into incredible shape. And as a part of that, I've been going on daily walks to get my step count to over 10,000. And during these walks, I do a lot of introspection, and also I call friends a lot of the time as well. But during these periods of introspection, right, I've been thinking about one thing, and that's decision making. But more importantly, like, how do you actually make the right decisions to accelerate your progression in life, business, basically to achieve whatever outcome that you want for your life and yourself. So the way I've always thought about life and the way I've always kind of, modeled it in my head is life is kind of like a decision tree, right? Where you start off at one point and there's like an infinite number of branches that you could go down. And each branch eventually will lead to a completely, drastically different outcome. You know when you play those video games and you get to choose what the character does and speak in specific conversations, and if you say a certain thing or do a certain thing, the storyline kind of adapts and changes. So today I wanted to share with you guys some of the best and the worst decisions that I made along with the circumstances in which I made them before the age of 21, and how that has helped me to get to a point of moderate success relative to my age group. So one of my best decisions I made before I was 21 was basically saying yes to every single opportunity, right? Especially during summer of 2019. Oh my God, was I the biggest yes man ever. I just said yes to everything. I wasn't scared of being overworked. In fact, that summer I got so overworked that I literally worked myself into depression. If you guys know what that's like, you'll know how much you'll have to work and how crazy that kind of lifestyle is, right? You're just constantly doing something and you just burn the fuck out. It's so unsustainable. But honestly, during that period was probably the most and the fastest I'd ever grown. Despite, if you had met me during that period, you'd think I was an absolute nut job. I was crazy. It's during those moments of madness you really develop your character and you really find out who you are. Because the opportunities I actually said yes to were, looking back, they were horrendous, right? I had a terrible short-term ROI because I realized I worked out what my hourly rate was during summer of 2019. I was working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week straight. And my hourly rate on average, because I was commission only, was about £1.50 to £2.25 max. That was my hourly rate. But during that time, what was so cool about it was it helped me expand my horizons, and it also scarred me to the point where I knew what I didn't want. I truly understood the life that I didn't want. And that was working 16 hours a day, 6 days a week on something that was kind of cool, but I just wasn't really compensated for it at all. And there was it wasn't around the most positive people as well, but it really allowed me to expand my horizons in the sense that I started to see things that I wanted in life, and I started to realize what I didn't want in life, right? I knew where I didn't want to be, so it kind of showed me the directions. It pointed me to the directions which I did want to go. The second best decision I made as a result of the first decision, you see what I mean? Each decision has, it's in the decision tree, you make this decision, but now you're only presented with the decisions in this branch and you're kind of shut off from that branch of decisions. The second decision was exactly that, right? When I came back to university end of that summer break, man, I was burnt out, I was depressed, I just didn't like where my life was going, right? And that led me to making the second best decision, which was dropping out of university. At this point in my life now, like university in my mind has got to be one of the worst, if not like the worst possible investment in yourself you can make, period. Because the ROI on a degree is honestly like, it's so negative. But the thing is, right, that decision would not have been possible had I not gone through the massive pain I did and the like crazy amount of suffering I endured during the summer of 2019, right? That decision would have been like off the tables. If I had went to a comfortable tech internship like many of my friends, I would have stayed in uni. I would have been like, oh, okay, this is, I guess, not too bad, right? Like working for someone else 9 to 5, right? I would have stayed in university. Now, on to the third decision. So the third decision actually, I should have probably gone in like chronological order, right? But the third decision was one that I actually made when I was 15, like early 16 years old, maybe late 15 years old, I can't quite remember. But that was for me to read books and consume content about philosophy, about how to develop discipline, things along those lines, working out. I started trying like bodybuilding and things along those lines. Wasn't very successful, but you know, I worked out nonetheless, lifted some weights, got into much, like infinitely better shape than I was. So during that period, I remember a distinct moment when I kind of realized, okay, cool, I actually have such a long way to go on this journey, right? And that was when I first read the book 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. That honestly was such a game changer for me, right? Because I feel like that was like the first domino, because at the time, my reading age is that of like a 12-year-old, right? If I picked up that book, I would not have been able to read it just because a lot of the words I honestly don't understand, right? I don't know how to read it. So the way I consumed that book was through Audible, so I listened to it. And that allowed me to actually access that piece of knowledge. I remember listening to it on my half-an-hour journey on the bus every single day for like a whole month to finish the book. And from then on, that kind of really changed my life, because I took every single word to heart. And that actually led me to making the fourth best decision that I made, right? And that was copying successful people. Because due to my experience of like relative poverty growing up, I always knew that I wanted to be successful, number one, but more importantly, like more important to the success and everything along those lines, I wanted to learn how to earn a shit ton of money, right? I wanted to be rich. I knew the importance of money. I knew the role that money played in your life. And I just knew that I wanted a lot of money, right? How much was a lot? Back then, it was just, to me, it was like walking in a restaurant and just not needing to look up prices, right? But now I know how much a lot of money actually is. And I'm like, oh my God, like I was such an amateur. But anyways, so the reason why I say the fourth best decision was copying successful people was because I had no one around me that was successful, or what I deemed success to be in life. So what ended up happening was I really wanted to be successful, even though I didn't know what success is or what even it kind of like looked like, and I had no one in my life to kind of model it after. So what happened was I went on the internet and I just kind of like found content creators who I liked and who I deemed to be successful in one form or another. And what I ended up doing is I started to just copy their behavior, right? And it started off at a very surface level. So by the way, I was a 16-year-old, so you could imagine I was a complete dumb fuck, right? But what happened was I started copying them from a action perspective, in the sense that I saw, oh, everyone that I looked up to, you know, they were in good shape and they were all going to the gym, working out regularly, playing sports and being active, right? So I was like, okay, cool. I just need to copy them and I can basically get to where they are. Right? So I started copying them in the workout sense. And then I was like, oh, well, none of them are fat. So fat is bad. I don't want to be fat. Yeah, it looks terrible, right? So I decided to lose weight. And that was also, you know, as a result of working out as well. So I started learning about my health and all of this other shit that would not have come had I not just made this decision of, hey, let me just like copy all of these successful people, right? And looking back now, like the people that I was looking up to, they weren't really that successful. They had like moderate success, right? Especially relative to their age. So after many iterations of copying different people, being influenced by everyone, I became like a summation of all of these people's qualities that I kind of liked. And after many iterations, and after about probably like 2 years, let's say, right, over the period of 2 years, I just became a totally different person. Like I was so different to the point where, like, because I changed schools a lot throughout my childhood, everybody that knew me for like 2 years at a time, when somehow, I don't know, we crossed paths in life again or whatever, and they would just be like, yo, like, yeah, you've changed so much, and it's absolutely insane. And even the friends that I've known for a long time, they say that, yeah, like, you're just a bit of a dickhead like when you were young, right? But now you're like a pretty solid individual. I don't know how else to kind of describe it, right? So those 4 decisions, let me just list them out again, right? Best decision was saying yes to every opportunity. Number 2, second best decision was dropping out of university and really betting on myself. That was the, I guess, also important thing about that decision. When I dropped out of university, I took it very, very seriously, and I knew that I will build something from scratch for myself, and that was what I was committed to. Third best decision was, at the age of 15, choosing to be on the path of self-improvement, and as a result, it led me to find people that I looked up to and copying successful people lastly, right? Now, let's talk about some of the bad decisions, because one thing I really fucking hate is like when people online portray themselves as to be some like absolute god in terms of, you know, never making any mistakes, and they just don't really talk about L's. So let me talk about some of mine, right? So I have made bad decisions in my life, but I do learn from them, because I truly believe that, like, if you actually think about it, right, most bad decisions that you make, whether it ends up hurting someone or like doing some damage to your bank account or breaking down a few relationships in your life, most of those decisions are reversible, right? As long as you learn from those bad decisions, then in a way you can actually turn those into a good one, right? In like a really weird sense. Number 1, worst decision, smoking weed every single day, first year of university. Well, like maybe not every single day, like 6 days out of the week, right? I remember it actually being quite nice. In my memory, I actually remember that time as a time of relaxation. I genuinely quite enjoyed it. And to be honest, to an extent, sometimes when I'm working, I even miss like first year of university. But honestly, the reason why I was smoking weed, to give you a bit of context, was just because I wasn't being challenged at university, because I was consistently getting 80 to 100% on all of my assignments test with basically minimal revision, and without knowing what to do with my spare time, because at the time I really lacked direction, I really lacked guidance in my life. I just smoked weed and played video games.
The dopest dope I've ever smoked. Hands down, dopest dope I've ever smoked. Right,
It's not
here.
better than the Blue Oyster weed. It can't be. I
friend.
can't handle better than that.
Looking back now though, I really wish I used that time kind of more productively. But at the same time, I also kind of like thought it was a valuable experience, just because like life is actually quite long if you really think about it, right? So I kind of see life as there's like different, I guess, perspectives in life. So at that time, I just happened to go through like a drug perspective, in the sense that I was smoking weed every day, right? I was getting high. And that was a perspective I had, that was a reality that I was in. But then obviously I shifted to another paradigm where I completely left that behind. And if you told me to smoke weed every day, I would honestly have depression, because I would not enjoy it anymore, right? But looking back, yes, it probably wasn't the best for my health. Yes, I did waste a lot of time, but I still kind of valued it, just because now that I know, okay, cool, this is what smoking weed every day is like, I don't want that anymore, right? I want something better. So now I know which direction to go for. It's just as important to know what you want and where you want to aim for as it is to know where you don't want to be, right? Because without darkness, there's no light. Anyways, second worst decision was dating around and chasing girls meaninglessly. What I mean by that is, I think dating when you're broke, young, and just overall like you're a useless fucking person is probably one of the worst decisions you could possibly make, right? Because you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. Right? So if you're like a useless young person with no real tangible skills and you're completely broke with a really shitty family background, guess what? You're gonna attract a bunch of broken people into your life. So dating when you're like level 1, let's say, you're gonna attract level 1 people. And if you're dating someone and getting into a relationship seriously at level 1, the decision you're essentially making is you're taking a bet on that person to grow with you to level 2, to level 3, to level 10, to level 20, right? But the thing is, most people don't actually have a growth mindset, and most people don't care too much about growing. So what's gonna happen is either like you're gonna attract someone who's on the same level, slightly below you or slightly above you, depending on whether you're a guy or girl, girl, and they're probably just gonna hold you back in your growth, or you're gonna hold them back in their growth, right? And that's either ways, it's just a terrible decision. So dating around is, in my opinion, like not very good because you end up just wasting a bunch of time. And it's not just, you know, go on a date for like, I don't know, 5 hours, you come back. It's like all the time leading up to that, all of the phone calls, all of like the headspace it dominates. But again, it's not a decision that I regret, because I think especially if you grow up with kind of like low self-esteem, without that validation, then you end up placing more value on things like trying to get laid, right? But once that becomes something that comes quite easily to you, then it's like, oh, it's actually not that cool. Like I want something else now. So to make you realize how stupid chasing girls is, or chasing guys is, you just sometimes gotta do it, right? You gotta smack your head into a wall a few times before you know that smacking your head into a wall is bad. So yeah, the important thing is when it comes to these types of mistakes like smoking weed, chasing people, you know, just make the mistake, make it quickly, realize it quickly, and carry on with your life. And lastly, I've also made like an infinite list of stupid decisions in my life up till this point. Like the micro decisions I'm talking about, by the way. I don't mean like big macro decisions of, I don't know, like moving to a city or like completely over leveraging my credit card or something like that. I've never done any of those things, by the way. I mean like small micro decisions. For example, it's like 9 p.m. and I just finished work and I'm super tired, and the last thing I want to do is like brush my teeth, do my night routine. So I just flick the TV on, end up watching 2 episodes of an anime or like some drama or some shit, and then I end up going to bed at 11, and that fucks up my next day, right? Those types of micro decisions are going to be the things that compound. So the third biggest decision is, I guess, making an effort to try to eliminate the bad micro decisions that you make. So that is why I would say the third worst decision is not realizing the compound effect of your micro decisions. So yeah, so the point of this video is that of the tons and tons of decisions we make day to day, only a few will actually hit it big for you. But at that point of making those decisions, you cannot know which those decisions are. So you really got to try your best to choose wisely. And the worst decision period, like the worst possible decision you can make, is to not make any big ones at all, right? Not to commit to anything. Because this is the fastest way for you to grow bitter in life and feel like a victim of circumstance. Because the thing is, most people live the same year of their lives over and over again. And a lot of people I knew from school, for example, hasn't really changed since they left school, right? And as a result, because they haven't evolved with the times, they've just completely been left in the dust. And you definitely don't want to be one of these individuals. So to conclude, right, most bad decisions are reversible most of the time, but the important thing is to make them, learn quickly, pivot from them quickly, right? Speed is really, really important. I hope you found this talk useful. I'd actually love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments below. I still read them, I just don't reply anymore. So yeah, like feel free to have a debate with me, whatever. And if you want domain specific skills or knowledge on email marketing, so this is what I do for a living, sign up to my mailing list below and you're gonna get a ton of free bonuses and free training. And when my course launches in a week or so, you'll also get a limited time early birds discount. So it's basically free money. Check it out if you want to, links in the description. Sign up to my mailing list anyway, it's like absolute gold. It's like the best thing in the universe, right? So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one, and yeah, toodles.